live at 6:21 a.m. Central Standard Time. So today is Education Day 2. I think I'm gonna start doing like a live, probably like every morning on the way to work. This class, we're gonna see how it works. Subject to change tomorrow. Um, but anyway, so I don't never go to work this early. It's 6:21. I woke up this morning bright and early at like 3:30. I don't know why I woke up that early, but I did, and I took it as a sign that my mind didn't feel comfortable with the amount of preparation I did for my first day. So today's my first day, but it's actually Education Day 2. Um, so first day, you just do like a lot of administrative stuff. You pass out like um, different forms for the students to complete. They'll compete, or sorry, they'll complete a form for shirt purchases if they want to purchase shirts like this that represent, their unit. I got 24, 31 students squadron because I'm a bull, um, and that's what we do. Um, they have a pizza party after one of the activities that they do. They have pictures. It's just a bunch of different forms that they'll end up um, filling out on day one. They also make sure that their computer access is situated because a lot of what we do is on the computer. Um, what else? Oh, the additional duties are assigned. So there's like 12 different jobs in a flight, and we send out a welcome email probably a little less than a week before they show up, and we have a listing of those jobs. The jobs include like social media rep, conditioning rep, the flight representative, the scheduling rep, the blood drive rep, uh, flex rep, which is field leadership exercise, which is basically a fancy game of dodgeball that we play, that covers like doctrine. It's a game, but the game is rooted in Air Force doctrine. Um, and so the people that do better are the ones that adhere to doctrine. Most of the students don't know that because most Air Force captains don't really know doctrine. Service doctrine is not something that's emphasized anywhere but professional military education. So a lot of them don't know it. But anyway, so I'm turning over a new leaf this time because I was recently told that I wasn't that good and I needed to raise my game. And I just kind of like started looking at myself and seeing how like maybe I am shooting myself in the foot. That's why it's good to like do reflection. Don't obsess over it. Uh, hey Emily, and Emily Del Pizzo says hi, and Tanya Meehan says what's good. Uh, Man, I'm just going to work. Trying to make a living to feed my family and keep clothes on the back and food on the table. Um, JT ain't in the garden says what's good. Tanya says expletive. Tanya says I'm from Poland. Hi, I'm from Poland. Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh, this chat is going fast. Hold on, y'all. Marius Melinda says hello. I'm from Poland. Shout out to Poland. Be safe. Be safe out there. Um, Tanya says, what do you do for work? So I'm in the military. JT says, how old are you? I'm an old man. You can see the grays in there. I don't know if you can see the grays. I'm an old man. I'm like 40. How old am I? I'm gonna be 44 this year. So I guess I'm 43 right now. Um, I got so old that I'm at the point where I have to start asking myself, like, what year is it? That's how I determine how old I am, because I know when I was born, so I just say, what year is it? That's how I answer that question. Unfortunately, I'm old. Um, but anyway, so I was told that I wasn't that good, and so I just, like I said, I just started evaluating like places where I could get better. Because honestly, I don't care about the feedback from my leadership as much as I care about the feedback for the people that I am doing the job for. The people that I'm doing the job for is the American public, you all, and it's also the captains that I'm responsible for liaising or leading or whatever you want to call it. Um, so their feedback matters the most. And a common thing that they had for me was like organization. Like, man, it just seemed like you're not really that organized. Well, I'm like, well, I'm not. If it seems that way, it's because I'm not. Um, but you know, it's one thing to just say I'm not organized, but like, what are you doing to be better? Are you just gonna say I'm not an organized person and just leave it at that? Or are you going to actually try to take steps? So what I've been doing is I've been using ChatGPT to get me right. I just, because a lot of these things, I feel like people were taught at some point, either by parents, either by school, either by something. But I just, my problem was I had a mom. My mother was always on time to work, but like everything else, I didn't go to her to work with her. So I never saw her process. I just knew when she woke me up in the morning, and I just kind of, I just went. And so I was used to having a person tell me when to go, when to leave. But when you become an adult, all of that stuff go away. You know, there's nobody there that's just gonna say, "All right, man, you need to be getting up now. You're about 18 minutes from work, so you need to leave." Uh, not with enough time. Oh shoot! I left those water jugs in the back of the car. Oh, I hate that. I can turn around. I have enough time. I'm so early. I could actually turn around and fix what I just did. And that's the benefit of leaving like an hour early. Like literally, real time, you can see the benefit. Because normally what I do is I leave with just enough time to get there to my job. And so if there's a traffic jam or if something happens at the gate where it's slowed up, I'm gonna be late. And so I just like something said, stop doing that. Don't do that. Um, what do you do for work? I don't think I ever answered that question. I'm in the military and I teach professional military education. And um, a part of that involves teaching like joint warfighting. What is joint warfighting? Joint warfighting is joint means multiple services. And the services are the different branches of the military. So you have the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, the Marines, the um, Coast Guard, and the Space Force. And so you have all of these different branches, and the whole point of SOS, Squadron Officer School, is to educate captains that are going to be asked to be tactical leaders or leaders at the tactical level, to educate them on how to interplay with other services. The crazy thing is I actually have not had a joint assignment. So one might ask themselves, well, how can you teach people how to do, how to be a good joint warfighter if you've never been a joint warfighter? And that's a great question. To uh, the answer is really academic. I can tell them like what the Air Force is saying um, makes you a better leader. That's really what it boils down to. Just telling them what the policy and the guidelines say make you a better leader. So that's what I do. And really, I don't think of myself as an instructor. My duty title says instructor, but I think of myself more as a facilitator, because we're not sitting there and I'm just dumping and pouring knowledge into people's brains. Honestly, I'm kind of like a talk show host, a podcast host that just kind of keeps the conversation going. So they have a curriculum where they're supposed to study and read and do all of the preparation at home, and they know what it is that they're supposed to do for the next day. And so I just tell them, hey man, this class is going to go as well as you guys prepare. So if you don't read, like I could just talk to you, but again, just know that I have limited experience and I'm going to give it to you from my perspective. But if the 13 to 15 of you get together and share your perspectives, you actually probably can teach yourselves, and you can also teach me and help me become better and help me help you become better. And so that's kind of what I do. But yeah, I'm up like an hour before I need to be at work. My first class starts at 7:45 today. And so my goal for this year was, hey man, get to work 30 minutes to an hour before your first class. What that's going to do, that's going to give you time to like set up, um, get your mind right, and not be kind of like running from situation to situation. Um, so I'm neurodivergent. I got ADHD. I probably got some other stuff. But I have severely limited focus, not severely, moderately limited focus abilities. And so sometimes I'm all over the place. And so for me, I found that ChatGPT can get a brother right. And that's really how I'm like surviving. As I'm getting older, your mind gets less sharp. Like when I was a kid, if we put it in like in terms of computers, I had like I feel like I had a bunch of RAM where I could just do things on the fly and I can adjust, and I had like this incredible memory, where like you told me something, I was just absorbing it, and like I could remember stuff that was said like from weeks to months to years. But as you know, data and information and stuff got stored in my brain, my RAM went down, it seemed like. And now in my 40s with multiple children and a lot of different hats that I'm wearing, I have a job in my church, I have a position, um, you know, trying to be a friend and trying to be a good son and all of these other things, all things to all people. It takes a lot on your brain. And if you're not an organized person like me, and you have less ability with your mental acuity, it's going to decrease your efficiency. And so that's what I'm dealing with. Um, and so that my recommendation, one of the recommendations that I got from uh, ChatGPT was like prepare. You have to prepare. You don't just wake up and just assume that you're going to be successful. You have to plan for success, and you have to practice for success, and you have to develop consistent habits. So that's what I'm doing this time around. Um, I, I'm working on being better, more organized. So don't just wake up and just go and start like planning. No, the night before, set your uniform out. Um, Back up at 8 p.m. You should be in that whole setting up for the next day, reviewing your schedule. What do you have for tomorrow? Do you have any appointments? Have you coordinated all of the key things that you need to coordinate with leadership and with um, with whoever's required. Have you done those steps? And so like going through that mental map the night before and even writing it down, all of those things, like those are things that I'm putting to play. Says how you doing, my friendly neighborhood N word. Jake says that. Um, God bless you, Jake. Um, yeah, so let me drop this water off back in the house. But yeah, it's really about preparation. One would think, being in the military teaches you all of those things. And the military, like the same for that. So I went into the military. My name is Steve, but they noticed that I would resist. Like I would just not do it. Like they would have a recommendation, and I would in my class, and they started calling me Dean. I guess it was a movie where the actor's name was Dean, so that's when they started calling me Dean. And so I gave that story just to illustrate how 16, 17 years later, I'm finally buying into it because 16 years ago, I had the mental abilities to not have to necessarily do it the way they were saying. And 'Jake says, "Are you assuming what I believe?" Then there's like two more messages that's held for review, so I'm assuming something that I've seen. Um, and so, good job, Jake. But yeah, so that's a big part of it. Now it's 6:40. I still have an hour, or over an hour. I'm about. I'm assuming that it's going to take me a little less time. So we're going to see. Leaving super early is actually an advantage. I just moved 6 or 7 5-gallon jugs. I lost count. Uh, but that was good PT. I think I'm good for the day. I don't need to do any more physical training. But anyway, today is the second day of the course, and we have. So yesterday was our administrative day, and today is our exercise. And so the students, they all just met for the first time yesterday. And so we're going to take them through 3 different activities or 3 different exercises where it forces them to all have to depend on each other. The first exercise is like a password deal where they all have clues and they have to put their foods together, and they have to brainstorm to find out what is the answer. And normally that'd be like an easy task. It's a time task, and normally it's easy. But the issue is they combine that task of problem solving with running. And so we're gonna run about almost a mile and a half while trying to solve a puzzle. And like if you say to yourself, that's insane, trying to run and solve a puzzle where people have to talk and run together. People of all different running abilities and athletic abilities have to get together and go towards a course, towards a destination. Also, there's only one person that has the map, and so that's the first exercise, and it's a time exercise, like I say. Most of the people that do that exercise, they're successful just because they eventually figure it out. I've only had maybe like a handful out of the like 4 or 5 different times I've been observing it. I've probably had one team not get it. Then the second exercise is it's like a it's a three-step exercise where you give them information um, every 90 seconds. You give them a new piece of information and they have to accomplish it in a set time. And so that's the second exercise. And then the third exercise is they have to all work together with some rules to move a ball from point A to point B. And that's um, team building. Um, in between the exercises, they're supposed to debrief and discuss what they did well, what didn't go so well, and maybe what could they use to help them have success in the future. Because Squadron Officer School, the thing is, we're teaching them about joint warfighting, but we're also teaching them about like problem solving and thinking through different courses of action while you're in a dynamic environment. And it's not a live fire environment. Nobody's shooting guns or trying to kill them or anything, but it's just time and doing things fast. And that's what we're trying to get them accustomed to. Um, when I first started, I used to not tell them any information. I used to not really like. I took it to the extreme, I think. But now I'll give them some information. I'm not gonna like give you like I'm not gonna compromise the event where it's like I'm telling you the answer. Um, but I like if you're doing something wrong, I will tell. And so that's kind of what I do now. But anyway, 6:45, 6:44. I got an hour, and I'm about 15 minutes from work, so I'm about to just get up to the job, set up in the office, do my mental mapping for the day, do my mental mapping for the next day, and try to figure out how to be a better officer, better person, and how to suck less. That's my job right now, sucking less. Um, the thing is, um, in the military, I'm gonna do a quick shift. In the military, um, being a minority officer, I feel like a lot of times your inputs are devalued. Like your answers count for less than your counterparts. Um, so like I'll give an example of what I mean on that, and y'all can just shuttle out. That's fine if you don't like what I'm about to say. It's okay. Um, but I'll be speaking my truth. Um, so anyway, the there was a colleague of mine that asked the question. She's like, "Hey, I want to do a poll. We have a guy, an international officer that wants to pay for everybody's way to a game. We're doing the social, and they are insistent that they really want to just pay for everybody. Is that a big deal? What do you guys think? Is that a big deal?" having a foreign officer pay for American officers' tickets to a social event? On the surface, it's like, nah, that's cool. That's cool because we think through our American lens. Like that's a very thoughtful gesture, and um, sure, there's no problem if that's how you guys show hospitality and that's how you want to get down. I don't want to impede or offend you, and so go ahead. But the thing is there's something called joint ethics regulations. And joint ethics, this is how I'm thinking. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I do know that there's policy for every question that we can have. And once again, I went to ChatGPT and I was like, hey, Chat, we got an officer from this country that wants to do this. Are there any potential barriers or um, things that we need to be aware of that would maybe prohibit the officer from doing that? Now, so the joint ethics regulation says you can't do anything, or a foreign officer, a foreign government, they cannot give more than $20. Um, and so, well, how much do the tickets cost? The tickets cost $9, and the individual wanted to pay for 12 people, so that's $108, right? Um, so now this dude wants to spend $108. Now the joint ethics regulation said they're not able to spend more than $20. Uh, First thing, I didn't know that until I looked it up. But my first answer to the question was like, check with base legal. Base legal can tell you what the regulations say. There's a regulation that governs interactions between foreign militaries, and there's probably someone on this base that's an expert in handling that. And so I gave it to them. That was my recommendation, but everybody else was like, "Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I would just say go ahead. Sounds good." Um, then the next person was like, "Well, you wouldn't need to contact legal because they're not giving you the gift. Specifically, they're talking about giving it to their classmates." Um, and then the rest of the people was just like, yeah, just go ahead and do it. And so the officer, the one that asked the question, she was just like, all right, well, I'm gonna just go ahead and do it. Since the preponderance of my peers said, do it, that's what I'm gonna do. Um, she asked leadership first, and leadership was the one that asked her to take a poll. Um, and then that was the number two in leadership. The number one came back later, and he was like, hold up, y'all. Sorry, my bad, I'm late to the conversation, but how about we ask the person that's over these international officers? You know, the one that told us in our international officer meeting that if we had any questions to reach out to them, how about we just ask them? Um, and so I ended up sending that person an email and it's like, hey, if we had this hypothetical situation, is it an issue? Now, that person that answered that question, they said it's not an issue. You would treat them just like an American officer. Um, and for me, if it was me that was trying to answer this question, if one of my students came to me and said they wanted to do that, I would tell them the policy says this. The people on base are saying this. You're not going to get in trouble either way if you want to do it. You're covered because on base they said it. But me personally, if I was involved, I wouldn't do it. That's just me because there's a regulation out there that says you're not supposed to do it. Now these people on base is not necessarily following the regulation. Now who's checking those people? Who's making sure that they're following the rules? Nobody. So in actuality, you can do it because there's nobody checking. But on the outside chance, somebody just happened to audit your organization and your practices. Or if that officer in their culture, them buying that gift was them assuring that, hey, now you have to You owe me something because I did something for you. Now you owe me something. Um, there's all of these different things at play outside of the American culture and the American way of thinking that we might not necessarily be thinking about. Oh, and by the way, she had another international student. And so now, what if at the end, that person just so happened, like, what if this officer was the best officer and they were selected by their peers as the best officer? But what happens if the other international officer raises his hand and is like, well, I don't think it's fair because you guys, after this individual did this, you show favoritism to him, and that's why you're saying he's the better officer. Now you got to answer that question. And depending on how much of a stink this person made or who this person was, what if they went back to their country diplomat or whoever and raised that as an issue? Me, I'm always thinking worst case scenario. Is it that serious? Is it that deep? Honestly, no. My wife told me, she was like, why don't you mind your business and stay in your lane? Um, because the folks that's not listening to you anyway. They tried to play in your face when they was responding, like making it seem like you was just like totally off base and an idiot. Now your squadron commander came back and kind of validated that no, you was on the right track, but your peers kind of told you that you was an idiot. So why don't you just fall back? And I told my wife, that's not who I am. You know, you've been married to me for 20 plus years. What part about our interactions would lead you to think that something like that is in my DNA? I can't help it, y'all. I already know people is looking at my opinion as counting maybe like 60% of the other's opinion. I already know that. But I still be the first person to speak up. I still be the first person to give my 2 cents. Um, why am I like that? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. That's probably what I need to explore. Like, why do you feel the need? If you know somebody is not necessarily in your corner, not necessarily valuing your opinion, why do you still give your opinion? And why do you still care about that? So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do me some mental homework and think about why I feel the need to be heard by them. Hmm. Let me check this message that was held for review. Jake says, your finger must be on the mic or something because we can't hear. And then he says, or get that blank out of your mouth and speak louder N word. Okay. Yeah. Jake needed much prayer. No, so what happened was I was connected to Bluetooth and I got away from my Bluetooth mic. And that's why y'all couldn't hear. So be interesting to see the playback. But anyway, I'm at the gate and I gotta get off the phone. So I'm gonna put this phone down real quick. Dang, I'm moving through the gate like, whoa. Y'all see how fast I'm driving to this gate? Wow. 6:55. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm never leaving late like this again. Hey, good morning. How you doing? All right, you too. I love talking to the contractors. the air when you talk to the airmen, when you talk to airmen, the airmen be like they feel like they have to um answer you or they feel like they have to talk and so they'll talk. But the contractors be like, hey man, they ain't paying me to talk to you. They ain't paying me to be nice to you. Yeah, have a good day. Get on in here. I would actually not mind doing that job. I ain't gotta be nice to you. Hey, have a nice day. Whatever. Next. I would love that job, actually. That's refreshing. Not feeling like you have to be nice to people. But I'm a nice person. I think that's probably a part of it. Why I feel like I have to speak up and offer that, even when people don't treat me right. I guess it stems back to that teaching of treating people like you want to be treated. Um, yeah, man. But what's going on in the world other than what I'm talking about? I ain't talking about nothing really. Um, why do people online? Why are people like so miserable? If y'all look like in the comment sections, if you look in um like in the public forum, people are miserable. I was watching this Facebook reel. It was about there was this young black boy. He was a teenager and he worked at Chick-fil-A, and he was very bubbly, and he was very like he liked his job. Like he took pride in what he did, and he really liked his job. Um, the person that he was dealing with in the line, they were knew the guy. I guess they had interactions with him before, and so when they pulled up, they already had their phone on. Like, oh my gosh, I get to go to my favorite employee today, and so they pulled up and they were interacting, and they were not irritated or upset by how the employee was interacting with him. But like I went to the comments, and people were just like, oh my gosh, can he shut up? Can he just get on with it? I imagine myself being behind them, honking and losing my blank because what only needed to take 15 seconds, you drew it out into a 5-minute conversation. Please, buddy, hurry up. I'm like, that's not the Chick-fil-A crowd. That's not the spirit of Chick-fil-A. Whenever I want to pay a lot of money and enjoy my food somewhat and feel like I'm appreciated for coming, I go to Chick-fil-A. Whenever I just want my food and don't really care if my order is correct or not, I go to McDonald's. Like, we all know that Chick-fil-A, the person is supposed to say my pleasure. They're supposed to be very cordial and polite. We all know that's how Chick-fil-A works. And so I just didn't understand why people in the comment section was so negative. They was killing that boy. They was like, he clearly hasn't received his first check yet. He's clearly new. This is his first day at work, and just making like all of these like miserable comments. And it's like, that's what it is. That's what it is. I don't like to be a person that's dark. I don't like being dark. The world is dark enough. And so, like, why am I going to be dark? Why am I going to add to that darkness? Let me be a little bit of light. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the neighborhood, everywhere I go, I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. So I guess that's why, even when I'm getting shade, even when I'm getting um, contempt, people whispering behind my back and just kind of like disregarding, I'm still gonna treat you like I want to be treated because that's how I was raised, and that's what I believe is the right thing. And ultimately, that's how I want to be remembered. You know, you can say I was an idiot or whatever, but um, the impact on the ground, impacting captains positively, is really what gets my motor going and what keep me in a positive mind state. Because I love what I do. My 17, almost 17 years of military service, this is my most rewarding job by far. Getting that feedback of, hey, like this don't work for me. Can you do it like this? Like just being able to give the people what they're expecting, and maybe even exceeding that expectation. I get up for that. So I'm about to go ahead and get up for that right now. It's 7 o'clock. I got 45 minutes until the class start. I'm gonna go ahead and just like do some mind mapping. Y'all have a good one. Be easy.